Welcome back. Well, over the past 10 years, according to IRJ, there's been a significant erosion of confidence in key public institutions among young people in specific. Well, this has resulted in South African young people mobilizing themselves outside government, key institutions and forming social movements. Unemployment has also been a big burden for most South Africans, but has been particularly acute for the youth since 1994. South Africa's youth unemployment has also ranged between 45 and 58%, and according to the 2012 Labour Force survey, it is currently an unacceptably high rate of 51%. Well, unpacking this fast, we are joined by Chairperson of Organisation of African Youth, Martha Shumba, and Youth Advocate Ntutuko Mpofu joining us in studio, specifically discussing youth presence. And we were talking off air, and we were talking about the January 8th statement, and I posed the question if you had listened to the January 8th statement, and both of you had said no. Take us through your reasoning why.
Okay, I feel that most young people are no longer interested in what our leaders are saying, because they keep on repeating the same thing but no action. And sometimes we feel intimidated because we are being led by an era that don't understand us, that don't know where we are going. We are the new generation, the future leader. We know our challenges, we know what we are going through, but they don't discuss such challenges. Now, you mentioned something off air, Ntutuko, saying that young people don't necessarily have positions of power in key making. And I mentioned that we would have to then need to start from the ground up to actually have interest in politics from the ground up, to be able to move into a way to be able to be in positions to make decisions.
I think the major problem with the so-called people in power is like you get the chance to study politics or to partake in politics, but you know one way or the other you won't get to the top. So I feel like it's pointless for people to take part in politics, especially they know that one way or the other their influence won't be felt much, because we're looking at people who don't understand what we as the youth need. So it's pointless for me to say I'm taking part in politics, whilst there are some people who have been there like for more than 20 years. They try to consult us, we tell them what they want, but we tell them what they want, what we want, but generally they don't take it into consideration.
Now, Martha, you're the chairperson of the Organisation of African Youth. Essentially, what does this organisation stand for?
This organization stands to, Organization of African Youth, it stands to empower, to motivate, and to unify the voices of Africa all over the continent.
Is your organization aligned to any political party or government of any other African countries?
No, we are not aligned or affiliated to any political party.
And how does your organization operate in other various African countries?
We do training programs, we do entrepreneurship programs and volunteering, and in order to empower young people to become the future leaders. We do encourage them to participate in politics in their own personal capacity. We also partner with government departments like the Department of Education or the department in other programs that we run.
What do you think are some of the challenges or the stumbling blocks that surround the youth and not necessarily showing a vested interest in politics? I'll pose the question to the both of you.
I think without further ado, I would say the first thing regarding to that issue is poverty and unemployment.
How so?
Because most people are not employed. So the government been telling us things that we don't even know. So they come back to us and hold meetings on their own and say youth should take part in politics. But whilst we still have issues that are solved. So that's a major problem.
If you find that a problem, how do you then, what are your suggestions then to government in helping unemployment? We know it's not only a South African dynamic or a South African challenge, it's a global challenge. But what is your word to government in trying to help us alleviate that, specifically amongst the youth?
I think it can start off in the community that we live in. We don't really say government should take part in everything.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah. So I think as youth, we need to take part in helping the government as well by doing projects that can sustain us as well.
In your view, are there any sort of initiatives that your organization is currently doing and working towards that?
Yes, we do entrepreneurship programs, and right now we're working on a food production project where we teach young people and train them, you know, to make their own food, to grow their own food in their own communities. Reason being, crime is high. So when we come up with such projects, we actually bring them together so that we can focus on a certain goal.
Now take us through some of your success stories, not only in South Africa, but in the other African continents that you've worked with, or other countries.
Okay, we have projects running in Kenya, and they are doing quite well in volunteering. We collect books, clothes, food parcels from social media, our associates as well as business people, and we donate in the community. In that way, we teach them to be their sister's keeper. At the same time, we have projects like grooming young boys to become men, at the same time empowering the girl child. Why do we do that? It's no point only empowering a girl child to say no to sex, but not helping the boy child to accept the no. So those are some of the projects that we are running.
That's great stuff. And in terms of getting youth more involved and getting them more interested in politics, what do you think could be done to get more youth involved? We've seen throughout the course of 2017, 2016, the Fees Must Fall protests. Some are saying that, you know, the youth are slowly starting to have a voice. It might be a small minority, but look, 2018, we're going into a year where the Department of Education is saying, look, first years are enrolling for free and will be attending universities for free this year for the very first time.
And that's the best news ever for every young person who is out there. I'll urge them to involve in anything that is happening in the country in decision making. As an organization, we train young people to be tomorrow's leaders. So whether you are from ANC, whether you are from DA, that's not an issue. But we come together on a neutral platform, you know, to face our common enemy, which is corruption, unemployment, poverty, crime.
Yourself, Tutuko?
I think what can be done is should start at the ground level in every community so that there is an effect. Like in every community, if you have the mandate to do something that is great, that's the whole idea of every African dream.
Definitely. Thank you very much for joining us here on Newsroom this morning. We've really appreciated your time. Of course, that was Chairperson of the Organization of African Youth, Martha Shumba, as well as Youth Advocate Ntutuko Mpofu. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Well, of course, that is a wrap-up of Newsroom, at least for now. All your news and sporting highlights coming up on the other side.